All right, Shalom. First off, I want to give all, all praises and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and Shalom to the Akim out there preaching his word in truth and sincerity. This is Brother Shamar coming back with another lesson. And, this one going to be kind of like straight to the point. I just want to speak on it while it's on my spirit as far as, not being a hypocrite, you know, of the things that you're speaking about. All right. Because, we go on the highways and the hedges, getting on our people, 2/3 of our people, Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, it's mentioning all the different things that Jake need to tighten up on, or not, they're going off on this and that. And, you need to make sure that you're not being a hypocrite yourself. If you sitting here getting on one brother for doing something, and if you doing the same thing, how can you even sit here and, get on him when you still have the same type of situation going on, you know? So you got to make sure that you be a doer of the word and not just, it's in here, this verse that I'm getting is saying a hearer, but, and not just speaking though. You get what I'm saying? Matter of fact, I'm going to grab, let me see. Slot. Fuck. Yeah, right here is what I want to grab. Start with this verse. Sirach 1:29. Be not an hypocrite in the sight of men, and take good heed without speakers. Yeah, so like I said, you don't want to be a hypocrite, man. And take heed to what you're speaking. And I don't think that, obviously not everyone, right? It don't apply to everyone, but certain bros, certain dudes out there, when you be speaking, I don't even think you be considering the things that you're saying. You just, you're just speaking. You got to take heed to what you're saying. Like, am I actually living the things that I'm talking about? If I'm sitting here trying to tell a person to, for example, like if you're a personal trainer, if I'm sitting here trying to tell you to exercise, be healthy, get your diet right, do this and that, but I'm sitting here, chubby, looking messy, just sloppy and everything else, how can I sit here and try to tell you to do right or do better when I'm not even doing better or doing right myself? So you get what I mean? You can't be a hypocrite, man. All right? You got to take heed to what you're speaking. Don't just be sitting here saying stuff just to be saying it. Because if you saying things and they apply to you, how are you sitting here trying to get on everybody else about it, or saying something to the next person about it? So you got to take heed to the things that you're speaking. And yeah, we these lessons that we make, obviously the things we say apply to ourselves as well. Yet what I'm getting at is that you should be making sure that you're, on point. Don't be sitting here messed up, your situation all crazy, and then you sitting here over here trying to tell the next brother about his situation. Meanwhile, yours is damn near on the same level, if not worse, So you being a hypocrite, man. Don't be sitting here like, just saying stuff, just be saying it. All right? Things that you're speaking about and getting on our people about, 2/3 of our people, or that you're getting on a brother about, you damn sure shouldn't be doing it yourself. Or else you don't have any you shouldn't be having nothing to be saying about it. Let somebody else speak up that's not doing it, Because at that point, you being a hypocrite. You sitting there trying to tell them they need to do better when you need to be doing better yourself, man. All right, and that's why the scriptures come into play with the 2 Corinthians, examining yourself. All right, because you got to make sure that you on point, that you're not doing the things that you telling the other people that they need to be doing. You should be already doing this yourself. All right, if you getting on somebody for telling them like they need to stop doing something, you shouldn't be doing that thing that you getting on them to stop doing, because you're being a hypocrite. If you're doing the same exact thing that you're telling them to stop doing, like that literally don't make sense. So you got to take heed to what you speaking, man. All right. And don't be no hypocrite either, man. And the next scripture I wanted to get is in James 1:22. It says, but be ye doers of the word and not hearers only, deceiving your own selves. And a lot of jakes be deceiving themselves, man. All right? You got to be a doer of the word, man. Yeah, we out here on the highways and hedges, teaching the will, Bashim Yahushai and everything, which is good, great, and fantastic. But if you sitting here like you getting precept after precept, the breakdowns and everything else, but you're not applying it on your daily walk, you're not really being a doer of the word, and you deceiving your own self at the same time, because how is it that all the precepts, the breakdowns for the scriptures, and you could pull precepts out, to get on somebody else and this and that. But then when it comes to applying the scriptures in your own personal life, you're not doing it. You're not being a doer of the word at that point, and it ties into you being a hypocrite, because you hearing it, you speaking about it, but then you're not even applying it or doing it, So we got to be doers of the word and not just hearers only, man, not just talking, being a hypocrite. You take heed to what you speaking, man, and be an example, a proper example of the things that you're speaking of, man. Because aren't we supposed to be an example to the rest of our people, all right, and other men that may be under you, depending on your position in the camp that you're in and whatnot. So you gotta recognize those things, man, and actually consider those things, and make sure that you're moving in the right proper spirit and proper order, because you're an example you're supposed to be an example of how a man of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua is supposed to carry himself. All right. It's more than just knowing, like brothers and apostles and elders always go into. It's more than just knowing the scriptures and precepts, man. Anybody can quote scriptures until their face is purple. But are you actually being a doer of the word, man? Are you actually applying this to your life when you go through situations, and are you not being a hypocrite of the things that you're speaking about when you get on the next person? You have to actually consider all of these things, man, and make sure that you're on point, with the way that you're moving in your life. All right. We'll continue on. It says, for if any be a hearer of the word and not a doer, he is like unto a man beholding his natural face in a glass. For behold, he beholdeth himself and goeth his way, and straightway forgetteth what manner of man he was. And that's right, man. And that's pretty much how you are. You sitting here getting on everybody else and everything, but as soon as you go back to, off the camera's turned off, you're going back to your day-to-day life, or everything's out the window. You forgot everything. Now, all of a sudden, right, everything's forgotten when it comes to you applying the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai when you go through different things in life, man. And how are you maneuvering through this matrix, all right? So we got to be doers of the word, man, and being a proper example as well. Not being a hypocrite, all right? Being a proper leader, because we're all supposed to be leaders, right? All right? Just even if your position isn't being a elder or a bishop, a captain, or anything like that, we're still all supposed to be leaders, because at the end of the day, the reason you learned this knowledge, wisdom, and understanding is to be a teacher. And to be a teacher, you have to be a leader, all right? And if you're going to be a leader, you have to lead by example, the proper example. Because you can say everything all day about that sounds good, but are you actually living it? That's the main thing. Are you actually doing it yourself? Because you can say whatever and make it sound great when you're on camera and on video, but are you actually living everything that you're talking about? Are you actually living it? All right, and being a doer of the word. Now, the next scripture I wanted to get is in Matthew 7 and 1. It says, judge not that ye be not judged, for with what judgment ye judge, ye shall be judged. And with what measure ye meet, it shall be measured to you again. And I'm going to read that in the NLT. It says, do not judge others, and you will not be judged, for you will be treated as you treat others. The standard you use in judging is the standard by which you will be judged. And that's another thing, If you dealing with different bros or whatnot, hey, that same measure of judgment that you trying to give that man, you gonna be met with the same thing. And you have to. These are things that you have to consider. You know, dealing with brothers in the body, other brothers in the other camps. You know, the same measure of judgment you using on one man's is gonna be used on you. So if you sitting here like, man, forget this dude, get out of here. You know, I don't like you, man. As soon as Jake make one mistake or whatever, you don't want to get shown any type of mercy, or you just so-called fed up. Hey, what if, you being met with that same standard of judgment? Now, when you in a bind, so to speak, or you in a bad position, you slipping, you messing up now. When you in the hot seat, so to speak, you want to be shown mercy, but then when it came time for you to show mercy, you didn't show it. So that's another thing you got to consider as well, man. The same measure that you're using to judge other brothers is the same measure of judgment that's going to be used against you. Because how you going to be dishing it out, but then you can't take it, And that's something you got to be mindful of as well, man. When you're dealing with different brothers and whatnot, like, yeah, it's, obviously different situations, different cases, different situations, different things apply, different measure of judgment applies. Nonetheless, you get the point I'm trying to make. You should be in the most meek and humble spirit as possible when it comes to judgment, and like try to exercise mercy as much as possible to a certain extent. Now it gets to a point, obviously, where if the dude ain't right, he ain't right. Nonetheless, the point being is, don't just be quick to just dismiss him, hey, man, I'm done once you get out of here. Hey, because what if the Lord, put the spirit on somebody that when it's your turn, you in the hot seat, put the spirit on someone that's judging you to judge you the same way you would judge the next person. Then you're going to be looking bugged out or crazy, like, damn, I wasn't showing any mercy, this and that. But, hey, you didn't show any mercy either. And this is another thing that has to be considered as well, man. All right. But back in the KJV, in verse 3, it says, and why beholdest thou the mote that is in thy brother's eye, but considerest not the beam that is in thine own eye? And that's right, man. Like I've been speaking on, man. You got to take heed to what you're speaking. Not being a hypocrite in the matter, man. Because you're sitting here, it's easy to point out everybody else's faults, but you have the same fault, if not better or greater, going on with yourself. How can you point at the next person and say something, man? All right? You sitting here talking about the mote that's in your brother's eye, but you ain't even considering the beam that's in your own eye, man. You got to consider yourself, man. The things that you got going on. Get yourself right, man, before you worrying about getting on everybody else doing this and that. Make sure you right, man. All right? Verse 4, it says, or how wilt thou say to thy brother, let me pull out the mote out of thine eye, and behold, a beam is in thine own eye. And that's right, man. You trying to sit here and help him out when you got problems going on yourself, man. You need to help yourself out, before worrying about trying to get the beam out, the mote out the next brother's eye. Get the beam out your own eye, man. And you got to consider that, examining yourself to even get to the point of considering that. Like, damn, I got to get my shit together, or whatever, whatever you got going on. Why you sitting here judging the next person? And like I said earlier, the same measure of judgment that you giving them, let you be in that same seat. You gonna want mercy. So you got to consider that, man, when you dealing with another brother or whatever situation going on. You quick to show no mercy, but then you want mercy to be shown to you, man. Hey, like the saying in the world goes, treat others how you will want to be treated. All right. And there's levels to it. Like I said, if a person is messing up to the point where it ain't no coming back, then obviously, hey, it is what it is. Nonetheless, beforehand, you shouldn't be quick to just dismiss somebody. What did Yahweh Shai say? How many times to forgive your brother? And you quick to just count your brother out, pointing out his faults. But then you want mercy to be shown to you. You can't be like that. Verse 5, it says, Thou hypocrite, first cast out the beam out of thine own eye, and then shalt thou see clearly to cast out the mote out of thy brother's eye. And that's right, man. So first, don't like you being don't be a fucking hypocrite. All right, get the beam out your own eye, man. Make sure you right. Make sure you on point. And then what? You gonna be able to see clearly. All right, and then shalt thou see clearly to cast out the mote out of thy brother's eye. You gonna be in the right spirit, man. You ain't being a hypocrite at that point. All right, you gonna be in a different spirit at that point, man, because you're living it, you're walking it, you're being a doer of the word. All right, you ain't just talking, you ain't being a hypocrite. You made sure that the beam's out your eye. All right, you making sure that you right, you on point, doing it. Everything that you saying everyone else should be doing, you should already be doing it. All right, and you're gonna be able to see clearly to cast out the mote out of your brother's eye, man. So you gotta take heed to what you're saying. All right, don't be no hypocrite and be a doer of the word. All right, don't just sit here be talking, telling you got everything good to say, but then you ain't applying everything that you saying to the next man's. You gotta be living it, man. You gotta be a walking example of this walking example of the standard, so to speak. You know how everyone should be carrying themselves in a proper manner. You know. So that's just something I wanted to say in the spirit real quick while it was on my spirit. Because, if you don't do it right then and there, you more than likely ain't going to do the lesson. So like I said, I just wanted to put that out there because it was on my mind to say, make a lesson about it. But with that, I'm going to wrap up and give our praises and glory again to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors to our apostles and elders, a great millstone, and Shalom Tada